Hey, good morning. Monica Cornetti with another Monica Morning Musings. So I have been teaching a lot lately and doing gamification design with all different levels of experienced designers. And so one of the things that happens when they come to the table is they've got a gabillion ideas about what they want to do with the project, but how do we get all those ideas down to some kind of really succinct plan for what we're going to do with our design. So I have found this works great when you do it with teams, when you do it with an individual, but I just call it simply pieces of eight. The reason I call it that is because you're making 8 little squares, but also because we have a pirate theme for our certification. So that pieces of 8 is that old crown, the coins that the pirates used for their legal tender, right? Pieces of 8. So here's what you do. Get a blank sheet of paper, and we're going to do pieces of 8 together. So you fold it in half hamburger, fold it in half hamburger again, fold it in half hamburger again. So you've got one piece of paper folded in half 8 times. 4 times. 1, 2, let's do it. Count, Monica. 1, 2, 3 times. That gives you 8 squares. 8 squares like this, right? So now you're going to take those squares and you're going to put yourself on a stopwatch. So grab your cell phone, put your timer up, give yourself an absolute max of 50 seconds. I prefer 40, 30 gets a little bit short. But you're going to write an idea in each one of those 8 squares. So let me give you those squares. Ready? The first square is going to be your objective. What's your overall business objective? Dollarize it. How is this going to help the organization? I'm going to do a whole nother session on what the CEOs or the CFO really cares about, and they don't care about your learning objectives. Now, I mean that in its purest form. Of course they care, but what they're really concerned about is how is this going to impact positively the bottom line of the organization. So it's business objectives. Then where are we now? So if that's what we want to achieve, what's our starting point? Where are we now? That's box number 2. Where are we now? What's our starting point? Box number 3 is who are you designing this for? I've already done some sessions on learner personas. I'm going to come back and do my next session on what if I don't know who I'm designing for, and I'm going to give you some tips on how you can figure that out. So box number 3 is persona. 4 is your narrative. What are you going to be using for a context, a theme? And it doesn't have to be some kind of elaborate saving the princess or zombie apocalypse. It can just be something simple like a day in the life, but you need some kind of context in which this is all going to be wrapped. I need to come back with some tips on that too. The 4th one is now the down bottom left. It's the 5th box. 5th box is our learning objectives. What is it that the learners are going to learn? And so it's nice to use something like maybe from someone like Kathy Moore, who's a whiz at designing learning objectives, right? It's like a measurement we already use is going to increase or decrease by a number, percentage, by a certain date, as people in a particular group do X, learn how to do something and apply it. So that's your learning objectives. Your method of delivery is going to be asynchronous, instructor-led, blended, hybrid, all different kinds of formats it could be delivered. What's going to be your delivery method? Mechanics, now we bring in the gamification. Mechanics drive the narrative, narrative drives the learning. So what mechanics do I envision at this point wanting to either trigger an action to be taken or give feedback, recognition, reward on an action taken? It's a little early in the design for those, but it's a great idea to think about what you do like. If you've done some deconstruction of games and gameplay, what are mechanics that you like? But more importantly, what are mechanics that my persona is going to enjoy? And then the final box is success, of course. What will success look like? How will you know you've made it? How are you going to be able to measure it? We want to be able to show some kind of measurable behavior change. What is that going to look like? More than smiley sheets, if we can possibly get there. Whole nother field of study, of course, but what is success going to look like? So box 1, objectives. Box 2 is where are we now? Box 3 is who are you designing for, personas. Box 4 is narrative. 5 is your actual learning objectives. 6 is your method of delivery. 7 is your mechanics, 8 is what does success look like. You've got 40 seconds to write those answers out in each one of those boxes on your pieces of 8, and then walk through that, take about 2 minutes each person and share what you've come up with. I guarantee you, you're going to look back on this pieces of 8 activity and say that was one of the best things that we did to get started all in the same place, to bring it in really tight and focus on what am I doing with this design for my gamification of learning project. So that's my little tip for the day. Try some pieces of 8. Share with me, please. What did you find out? What did you discover from it? What did it help you to make more clear? guru@sententiagames.com. See you back here for another Monica's Morning Musings sometime soon. Have a great day.